Hello everyone. We'll start with the AngularJs form validation. Okay. In previous session, we have seen that AngularJs provides different states for our inputs as well as for our forms like this $valid, $invalid, pristine, and dirty. We know the meanings of those states or the properties. Like valid, that means the item that input is valid based on the rules that you placed, right? Invalid, pristine is true if form or input has not been used yet. The dirty means has been used, and touched has been blurred. So we touched once, and when we left the focus of that input, then this touched becomes true. Okay, so these are the states or the property for the inputs and the forms, right? And using this we can do the good validation, form validation in AngularJS. Okay, for doing that, let's suppose this is a form name, username, email address. Okay, and what they have did here, we are using this scotch.io for understanding the form validation. Okay, so right here they have added this no validate. Why they added this? Because they don't want the HTML5 validation which comes by default by the browser. We don't want that simple validation. We want to do validation by ourselves, right? So let's let me tell you the validation rules. Okay, Angular provides many validation rules that we can use in addition to the ng min length as well as ng max length. So apart from these two, there are many. Okay, we can have the ng required is equal to true false, ng minimum length, maximum length, and then ng pattern. So here we can put our regular expression. If it is matches, then only that input will be the valid, right? As well as ng change. On ng change we can pass the string. If it is equal to that string, then only it will return us the true or the valid. It will make that input as a valid. Okay, so most probably the used is ng required, as well as Angular by default understand if we have their like input type email, then automatically it adds that rule, that valid email rule, it adds that, correct? Okay, we are having working example right here. We can open that in CodePen. Yes, if we check, let's first of all let's see how it runs. Okay, these are my, right now my form is pristine. I haven't touched my form, or I haven't touched any of the field, correct? That's why the form and the name, username, probably username and email, those are not required. That's why those are valid. And this name is required. That's why it's not valid, shown in the red, correct? These are not applicable right now. So that's why those are, this touched property is only for the fields, not for the form. Now I'm going to touch this name. Okay, and I just leave that field. The name become touched. Now I'll put something. What happened? Name became valid and dirty. That means I changed. Okay, let me remove that, and now let's see, it became invalid because it is required, right? So what we can do, if input is touched, right here, if we see for the name, when to show that message, right? Your name is required. If that name field is invalid as well as it is not pristine, that means when pristine is true, yeah, true if input has not been used yet. We used that, correct? So that's why not pristine, that means I used that, correct? And I use that, still it is invalid, then only show that errors. Okay. Yeah, right here, correct. Similarly we can add such messages, error messages right there, and to have those messages in red, what we can do, in bootstrap, if we apply the class for the form group div that says has error, then bootstrap makes the input as a red, as well as whatever text we add there as a in this p, it became red, right? So whatever we put that outside of the label, that will become red. Okay, that's because we are adding this class as has error. Now here is the new thing that we never know, that is ng class. Ng class is used to add dynamically some classes. Okay, so by default we are having this form group, and based on some condition we want to add this has error class. So what we can do, ng class is equal to class name and this condition. If this condition returns true, then this class will get added. If this condition returns false, it will not be added, right? Right now our name is invalid. Okay, as well as we have changed that input, that's why this as well will return us the true, correct? Because it's not pristine now, and not it became true, and this is invalid true, so that's why it added that message, right? Like this. Okay, so similarly we can do the validation for all our fields, and right here you can see the button is disabled, but if I put everything correct, okay, if I put everything correct, that button is now enabled. So what they have did for button, there is ng, where is that button table? This is the table that they display. We want the form. Okay, so they have added their ng disabled. If user form is invalid, then disable that button, right? Okay, and as well as for email, yesterday as well we saw this. If I, for required, they didn't added the message, that's why it's not showing. For only valid they added the message, or it's the single message, right? Yesterday we saw like multiple messages can be added. AngularJs form validation in W3 school, we saw this, right? Yeah, for email with the example, I think, yes, right here we can have different error messages if it is required. the error for required will be email is required, and if it is not valid email, then we can specify invalid email address. But right here they are showing only one message, and when they are showing that message, if that input is, where is the email, yeah, so they are showing if email is invalid and we used the input, right? And I think they didn't added that to the input for required, that's why they didn't mention that message. They are good. Even if it is blank, the email is valid, correct? Okay, so we are good with the AngularJS form validation. It's pretty easy. You can follow this tutorial and it's quite good, right? We saw how to do this. It's only about ng class. You need to add has error class to the form group, right? Form group div of bootstrap using this condition, correct? That makes our input look in the red borders and our messages in the red color. And these messages we can do hide show using ng show or ng hide, or maybe you can use ng if. Based on your condition you can play with this, right? We saw a new thing here, that is ng disabled. For ng disabled you can pass condition, and based on that it will make the buttons as disabled or enabled, right? And right here there is one thing to know. Let's suppose everything is good now. How you are going to cross check that? Okay, so if form is valid, if form is valid, then we are going to process that form. Otherwise we will not process. It will be there only, correct? Let's just try. Now this is not valid. Okay, the username is too short. They mentioned that using the validation rule, minimum length, right? Name, then username, they added ng min length is equal to 3 and max length 8. Okay, even though if it is too long, and they added those messages like this. Yeah, ng show username dot error for min length and error for max length, the same that we saw here for required and email kind of. So these are our validation rules of Angular, correct? That we can use to apply the rules as well as to display the error messages. Now let's, this is not, let's remove that. Okay, you understood, like if this form is invalid and even though you click this button, nothing is going to happen, right? Because on that button, where is that button? Okay, yeah, so right here it is type submit. The form will get submitted on click, and on form submit, what we are calling the submit form function. In submit form function we are checking if user form is valid, then only process this form, otherwise leave it. So it will not do anything. We are good, right? Okay, I guess that's it for the form validation with AngularJS. We can stop here for now, and in next session we'll see how to use uh, other third party modules to have our forms good looking and with more functionality, right? Yes, thank you so much.